Hello YouTubers, what you can see now is the vinyl box, the Beatles, all their studio albums, which was like a combined birthday Christmas gift that I awarded myself, and I think I mentioned in an earlier video that I would get back with some sort of review of this box. I hesitated a bit before buying this because, well, for one reason, I do already have these albums before, not any original pressings, some, well, rather cheapo 70s and 80s, in some cases 90s pressings, so nothing special. Also, I've heard some worrying words about these containing bad pressings and so on, and that's not good. So anyway, I decided to, well, let's try, and if I don't like it, I'll just send it back. So this is what I got, and I have listened to this now a couple of times, and also had some time to form an opinion about this. First of all, this is a very thick and heavy box, as you can see. This has this cover that I'm going to remove now, and if I open the lid, you see that this is quite well made, good quality. And I'm going to start by, if I can, by lifting out the thick, the thick book. Ooh, this is heavy. I mean, this whole box is heavier than my old Lenko turntable up there on the shelves. First of all, I have to say that this book is one of the most luxurious books I've seen. First I thought that it would be mainly well, lots of Beatle related pictures, images, like a bit of a coffee table book, but it isn't. It is a good coffee table book, but it's lots of interesting reading, well written, and many interesting photographs, and the textures of the pages, the lamination, it's very luxurious. It's an amazing book. And some said that it was mainly for the book's sake that they wanted to have this box, and I can't say that I'm like that, because, well, I've seen many books before about Beatles, and yes, they may look good and so on, but still it's the music that's most important. So I'm now going to put my own face in focus here and start by opening this box again and talk a bit about each album here. Well, all of you already know that this is where it all started. The Beatles, Please Please Me. And these are, of course, it's 180 gram issues. They used or replicas of the original labels. This has just a white inner sleeve, but it has let's see if you can see it, the black and golden stereo label that's so sought after, and the original ones that have that label on sale, they sell always for incredible amounts of money on eBay. This is not that. I mean, if we should be really picky about this, it should have another kind of cover here. I mean, it should be like a flip back here and so on, but still, never mind. Please Please Me was the first album, and it has always been one of my favorites among the earlier albums, because this is quite pure. I mean, it's recorded straight there and straight now. It only took a couple of hours to record the main part of this album, and it has many great tracks. First of all, the starting track, I Saw Her Standing There, was, in my view, well, everything I say here is in my view, so no facts here. Was one of the great starters, album starters, not just for the Beatles, but for any band. And it ends with the best ending song on many albums, Twist and Shout. And some great songs in between, I have to say that too, although Baby It's You and Chains and Boys, well, I don't know. They're okay. I mean, it's a great album. It's a great pop album. It's a great start for the greatest band of all time. When I first heard this, I was looking for some signs that it would be a bad pressing, but it's very quiet. I mean, no crackling, no nothing, no pops and so on, and no distorted sound. Although I think you can really hear on this album that it was in 1962, and that the recording technique would be a bit different in just a couple of years' time. Also, you can hear that it's recorded fairly quickly, because when you can hear some mistakes here and there, and some microphone pops and stuff like that. So it's a great album. But I think I would rather have wanted it on a mono issue, but who knows, there may be a mono box later on. It probably will on vinyl, but well, no, not really. I'm not really too keen on that. The earlier version of that album that I had was a German issue from the 70s. Second album, with the Beatles, and this also has a simple white inner sleeve, and now we switch to the more famous Parlophone black and yellow label. This is a bit like Please Please Me, the early Beatles being very good. In my view, I don't think that With the Beatles is as good as Please Please Me. There are some very good songs on this album, although some not too impressive covers. I'm not that fond of their version of Please Mr. Postman and You Really Got a Hold on Me. I think the best number on this album is, well, Money, That's What I Want, the early, which is also a cover. And we have All My Loving, which is one of the most famous songs, although not one of my favorite. The sleeve, the image of the sleeve is really, really good, as all of you know. Better than the Please Please Me one, but still, yeah, this is good. This is very good. All Beatles albums almost are really, really good. I wouldn't say that it's better than Please Please Me. Please Please Me was the first one and has a particular charm because of that. Next one, Hard Day's Night. I think this is where we're starting to get somewhere. Here they have raised the worst. When they are at their worst, they are a bit better than at the earlier albums. We have some really good songs on this one. The title number from the movie, of course, Hard Day's Night, and I Love Her, Can't Buy Me Love, Anytime at All. It's the song that I like very much, and Things We Said Today. And this is also the only one that contains only or just compositions by Lennon and McCartney. George Harrison hasn't written any on this one. So this is very good. But I have to say, the next one I would maybe pick as the last one of the early Beatles. And I have to say, this is a album for sale. It has a very colorful sleeve and a fold out. First Beatles album with a fold out. This isn't really that much talked about, this album, but this is one of my absolute favorites, mainly because of side 1. Side 2, not that impressive, apart from 8 days a week. But the 5 first songs on side 1 is brutally good. I mean, No Reply is a very... people don't ever talk that much about that, but I really like that song. And the Bob Dylan, well, tongue-in-cheek song, or Bob Dylan exercise. It's a bit try to write like Bob Dylan. I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, and John Lennon's vocals on Rock and Roll Music by Chuck Berry. I am not a fan of Chuck Berry, not at all. Not at all. He has written some good songs, but I don't really care for his own performances of it. But Rock and Roll Music, it's the best cover that the Beatles did, in my view, and it's the best version of any song by Chuck Berry, including his own recordings. It's John singing. He really believes in this. This is the truth. This is what it's all about. Rock and roll music. And we have the I Follow the Sun, beautifully sung by Paul McCartney, before the horrible song Mr. Moonlight comes on and a bit ruins the whole record. But still, the first 5 songs on side 1 are the ones that I listen to most of all on this album. Next one then, Help, from 1965. Partially with music from the movie. I think that's on page side 1. Yeah. I think it's good, but it's not one of the best Beatles albums. Yesterday by Paul, yeah, it's a great song, but haven't we heard it enough? No, I mean, there are so many other good songs. Help also. You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, one of the top songs on this album. Ticket to Ride. Well, Tell Me What You See. I've Just Seen a Face. Good songs. Dizzy Miss Lizzy. I'm not that impressed by that version. It's okay, but no. It's Only Love. The song that even you can't even hear John Lennon giggling almost between the lines because this is so bad. I think he called here the work name for that song was That's a Nice Hat, which shows that he didn't really take that song that seriously. But the Beatles needed to do some changing in their style or their ideas after this album. It was they were on the edge of maybe getting boring, and the movie, well, okay, if you like the Beatles, but I've seen Help and I don't think that it's too good. But they took a great step forward with the next album, Rubber Soul, from 1965, with some, I mean, the opening number, Drive My Car. We have Norwegian Wood with the sitar. We have the You Won't See Me, Nowhere Man. This is a record that contains almost all of the songs are really, really good. And then they ruin it a bit at the end by doing a version of, or doing the song Run For Your Life, which is, well, both quite badly played, untuned, and quite horrible song. But the rest, I mean, Wait, In My Life, I'm Looking Through You, even the not that superb song What Goes On has a great charm there. I also have to say that all of the records before I continue, all of the records in this box have been in great condition, very quiet presses. One small concern was Beatles for Sale. That was a bit warped. And I thought, well. But as it showed, the record played through without any problems. You couldn't hear that it was warped, and you didn't have to think about it. But it looked a bit worrying, but no problem. So, but in all other cases, the records are great. Okay, 1966, Revolver. All of the records up until now has had the black Parlophone label with a yellow Parlophone written on top, apart from the first one that I showed you. And this is another one. And this, I've talked about this, or mentioned it many times when we talk about the best album ever. I don't know if I think that, but I have troubles coming up with names of albums that are as good as this one. I mean, this was recorded 46 years ago, 47 years ago. It's still so good. Musically interesting, musically so many things happening here. And not any bad track really. I mean, the track I like the least is Dr. Robert and Yellow Submarine. But they're both good songs. But Taxman, the bass playing and guitar solo by Paul McCartney on Taxman is amazing. I mean, oh my god. And also, nobody has never really talked about the Taxman and the idea of this being some borrowed theme from Neil Hefti's Batman theme. I've heard it from the beginning, but nobody seems to talk about it or mention it. But still, I'm not saying that it's stolen or nicked any ideas, but there's an inspiration, there's a wink towards the TV show Batman here. Eleanor Rigby, Paul McCartney. I mean, a very grey song with a very dramatic story about this woman to this lovely, I think it's a string octet that accompanies Paul McCartney. I'm not sure there. I'm Only Sleeping, with lots of experimenting in the soundscape. I mean, this record has different soundscapes of every track, and I think that you could say that it was the first time. Of course, I haven't heard all records, but the earliest example of that happening, that there are different soundscapes on each tracks. Love You Too, George Harrison's great. Indian with the tabla and such, Here and There and Everywhere, very beautiful, maybe a bit too beautiful, maybe a bit too sweet, but still beautiful. Yellow Submarine, that's a fun song. And She Said, the drumming, especially by Ringo Starr, is so great there. Good Day Sunshine, I mean, it's a top quality pop song. Even Leonard Bernstein had talked about this being a masterpiece. And Your Bird Can Sing, I mean, with this rhythm, and For No One, Dr. Robert, I Want to Tell You, and the Gotta Get You Into My Love. Before the weirdest song of the album, Tomorrow Never Knows, which was the first one that was recorded for the album. Just a couple of months ago after this was recorded, and that's quite amazing. Tomorrow Never Knows. Yeah. Okay, over to the first Beatles album that I ever bought in the 80s. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, of course. And this contains, apart from the record in a normal white inner sleeve, it also contains a replica of this psychedelic inner sleeve that you can use if you want to. Get it back in. Not any fuss. Yeah, and we have the cutouts, and we also have, which I think was very nice, a folder with some information about the record, and also a guide to the sleeve, where you can see all the different people on the sleeve and who they are, and so on. That's good. Oh, sorry about that. So I have to say something about the sleeves. I mean, the records are 180 grams, so they are heavy. And the sleeves are in thick laminated cardboard. It really feels like a luxury item. And it is, of course. These aren't any cheapo pressings. Okay. Yeah. In England they did a mistake with Magical Mystery Tour, in my book, because they released it as a double EP. In England or in United States they released it as a ordinary LP, and this is, I have another, well, I had this before as an LP, but this, it has this issue had this book, but I think at the original it was here, like this. Here it is, like this, with the whole story and many pictures from the movie, and that was missing on my old my older version of this album. And another thing, when I heard that the American issue would be included in this box, I thought, well, I wonder which label they will use, and of course they use the Capital Rainbow label, because this was, as many of you know, issued on Capital in the United States and not on Parlophone or Apple. I have to say the songs from Magical Mystery Tour is on side 1, and there are some different single tracks from 45s on the other side that are collected thus on this album. Sgt. Pepper, great. This is quite good, but not as even as Beatles were most of the time. And then, of course, we come to the next issue, the Beatles, or the White Album. This has black inner sleeves and was also issued on the new Apple label. And it also contains the poster with the lyrics and the 4 photos of the Beatles members. Let's see if I can find it. When it comes to the music, this is very interesting album, and but I have to say that it isn't one of their best ones, because, well, there are some really, well, songs that really shouldn't, well, they are not that incredibly good. We talk about Savoy Truffle, Birthday, Rocky Raccoon, Piggies. But there are, of course, very good songs on this as well, like Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Julia, such a great song, Helter Skelter, I like that one, and Long Long Long, which is one of my favorites on this one. I have to say, I like the Revolution number 9, because it's so different from anything else I heard, and it is probably the most, well, it is the most sold avant-garde piece of art ever, I think. But also on this album, and also in a bit of Sgt. Pepper, they were starting to drift apart. They started making their music by themselves and really not cooperating that much before, and I always thought that the cooperation between the different band members was one of their strengths, and their cooperation weren't as good on the last albums, even if the albums themselves are good, great. Okay, over to the next one here, and this is as you can see, Yellow Submarine, which contains on side 1 different tunes from the cartoon movie, the animated movie Yellow Submarine, and on the other side film music scored, the original film score composed and orchestrated by George Martin. And I have to say, this is probably the Beatles album that I listen to the fewest times. I mean, on the Beatles side, there's only really one song that I like here, and that's "Hey Bulldog." I'm not fond at all of "All You Need Is Love." I think it's undeservedly a hit for them because, well, I mean, it's a sloppy song, and the chorus has only one note. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. I don't know, but I like the film score here. I like the film score by George Martin, so that side is actually worth listening to, just for that sake. And I also have to say that this continues a certain inner sleeve. Even the inner sleeves are laminated. That's quite cool that you can use. And the 180-gram pressing of this album really brings out the beauty of the film score music by George Martin, and I think that's great. But not for the Beatles side. Leftovers and playing Yellow Submarine and All You Need Is Love again. Only a northern song all together now, and it's all too much, I think. No, I don't like them at all. So, where are we now? Well, Abbey Road from 1969 is often mentioned as their greatest album. It's the greatest of their last albums, I think that's, but it's not one of their top albums in my book. Same as before, they're not really working together, even if it seems a bit more like they can stand each other's presence while recording this, and in many ways thanks to George Martin being back and well, more or less supervising the recording sessions. There are some super good songs and also some that aren't that incredibly good. I mean, I don't like Maxwell Silverhammer that much. I do like Come Together Something, and Oh Darling is a song that's not very often mentioned. And You Never Give Me Your Money, and the whole long one with You Never Give Me Your Money, Sun King, Me, Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, and Golden Slumbers Carry That Weight in the End. They hold together. They shouldn't really hold together because it's just short snippets of songs that they haven't finished put together into one song, and it shouldn't really work, but it does in some way. So great album. I've listened to it. Maybe it's one of the Beatles albums I've listened to most during the years. So, and then we come to Let It Be. If I'm not mistaken, the American Let It Be had a fold-out cover, but I don't think the British ever had. And this is a fairly simple inner sleeve. When this was issued, the Beatles were already disbanded. And I like this album though, because it's them getting back together and playing as a group, especially the recordings taken from the Roof concerts. I like them very much, but we have some really horrible orchestrations by Phil Spector, especially on The Long and Winding Road, and they really mess up the feeling of this album. And I know that especially Paul McCartney hated it, and he was probably one of the reasons why another mix of this album was issued in 2003, Let It Be Naked, which is when probably I'd rather listen to that mix than this one. Still, It's good album. All right, and the final issue, well, it's a double album. I think this has been issued as Past Masters Volume 1 and 2, but this is a double album with well, different singles that weren't issued on the vinyl albums, and some different mixes, like I Wanna Hold Your Hand and She Loves You in German, and the original single version of Love Me Do. And of course they did some great songs that weren't issued on LP back in the 60s. Rain is one good example. Paperback Writer, Hey Jude, Revolution. Then I don't mean the white album version. And also they have some, I mean, the Ballad of John and Joko. Well, I don't know. It's too much ego there, but I don't know. Anyway, so here comes. Oh, I've talked for 30 minutes. What's wrong here? What's wrong with me? Sorry about this. If anybody still is listening to this video, I guess I would like to end this video by asking, well, was it worth it? Was it worth spending? I mean, this box isn't for free. It is quite expensive. Was it worth it? Well, yes, it was, because first of all, I am a great Beatles fan. I have been talking a lot about songs I don't like now, but believe me, the most of the things that the Beatles made, I really, really like, and I'm such a great fan of them. And I've only had, well, the 80s CDs before, and different 70s and 80s vinyl pressings. So although I listen to them and I know how they can sound, I've never heard them this good before, and it's been a great pleasure to listen to these albums on my project turntable. And that's what I've been doing during this Christmas and New Year break from work, among other things, of course. And I have to say, it's definitely worth it. And it's a EU pressing, it's not the American pressing. I've heard that some of the American pressings are bad, that they sound bad. And this is the European one, and I have to say, it's great. Sounds great, and I don't regret this purchase at all, even if it's heavy to carry around. But I won't carry it around. The music is heavy too. So, well, that's it. And toodaloo.